Hello and welcome to the Marketing Mix. This week, I need to put my teeth in. This week I've got Bhavini with me. I've known Bhavini, I think, for 3 years now. Yes, and really, I consider her more as a friend than anything. But we've worked on a lot of interesting projects together. She's done stuff for me. She's done stuff for my clients. And I really, as we've sort of got to know each other and we've worked on projects together, I just love her approach to design and to branding. So it made absolute sense when I thought about who can I ask to come and talk about branding. It made absolute sense to ask Bhavini because I think she's just really creative and has some very standout designs. And I know she's blushing now, but I don't care. A little bit. Before we kick off with this session, I just want to plug the session in 2 weeks' time. So on the 27th of August, I'll be talking to Jane Phillips, and we'll be chatting about how imposter syndrome can really get in the way of you marketing your business. And I think this is a really important topic. We talk about imposter syndrome in a lot of different ways, and we talk about it quite a lot in to do with the actual running of your business, not feeling that you're good enough to run your business, but that does trickle down into your marketing as well. So do join me on the 27th to do that. July, Richard. Hi, Richard. 27th of July. We are in July. Yes, 2 weeks' time. So and Jane is an expert in coaching people who experience imposter syndrome. So tune in for that. If you are watching today, if you're watching live and you want to ask any questions along the way, do tap them into the chat box, into the comments box, and I'll pick them out as we go along. But I can see that there are people queuing up watching this, so I'm going to get started. Bhavini, would you introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes. So I'm Bhavini, and I am a graphic designer. I specialise in anything to do with sort of brand identities, so logos, colours, fonts, that kind of thing, and printed marketing collateral as well. So, brochures, leaflets, even sort of exhibition graphics and banner stands. I've been doing freelance work for about 10 years now, and I tend to now work with B2B clients because I like taking stuff that is generally conceived as a bit boring and making it look really exciting, because corporate and B2B doesn't have to be boring, and I love showing people that.
You have lots of I know you're working on something for me at the moment. You're working on making me more consistent, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because obviously I'm a B2B. I don't think of my brand as stuffy, but I'm hoping that you'll zhuzh me up a bit. Definitely. We've worked on a couple of my clients together, both quite corporate-y and quite, I would say, a lot of their marketing has been dull, but where we've worked on stuff together, it's been definitely zhuzhed up.
Yes.
Cool. So first things first, for anyone who doesn't kind of understand the terminology, and I'm all about sort of breaking things down. What is branding?
So there's this idea that branding is just your logo. And I think that's putting things too simply. Branding isn't just about your visuals. Branding is also about the language you use in your social media posts, your website, the way you present yourself to clients. I focus on helping my clients with the visual part of their branding. So when I talk to my clients, I always say to them, look, it's not just a pretty logo that you want. You want something that actually, attracts clients to you and your business, because you want them to ultimately spend money with you, right? So we need to make sure that your logo works, that you're using the right colours for your business and your industry. I'm not going to go into the psychology of colours at the moment, but it's quite in depth. But just to put it simply, if you're a hairdresser predominantly working with females and the majority of your brand identity is blue and grey, you're not going to attract your ideal client, are you? So that forms part of your brand identity, and so does the type of font you use. We all have our own personalities, don't we, as people? And fonts do as well. And without showing you actual visuals, actually I should have brought visuals with me, shouldn't I? Hard to explain, but the type of font you use can really help convey your message. So, you know, if you're a serious B2B business, using a cursive font or, you know, something quirky all the time in your marketing might not do the job. Having it as part of your typography palette is great, but you're going to need to focus on a font that's a little bit more serious. So branding isn't just that one thing, it's a whole host of things mixed together to show the world, this is me, this is my business.
Yeah, and I actually the project that Bhavini's working on for me, I wanted to get more consistent with what I do, and I've noticed that I've been using Canva quite a lot, and I know Bhavini knows that I use it.
I know, it's fine.
But I mean, I wish I had enough budget to get her to design all my social media posts, but I don't. So I have to do some of it DIY, and those are the only things I really do DIY. But the document that you sent me to ask me questions about my business, gosh, that was really good, because it got me thinking a lot about things like fonts and, you know, the stuff that I put in that briefing document. You know, I was like, the colors, I'm like, well, I really like my purple and green. I'm not a wallflower pastel kind of person. I like bold colors. I will wear clashing colors if I can. That's my kind of personality. So it's really important to figure out that stuff, which leads me on to, why is it important?
At the end of the day, it's because it's going to increase your profits, right? There was a survey that I read a while ago on Lucid Press, and one stat really stood out to me. And using your branding consistently, so your visuals, can increase your profits by up to 33%. That's a massive number, isn't it?
Oh my God, that's a third more. And profit, not revenue, profit.
Exactly. And if you think about it this way, having something designed professionally is going to make you look more professional, right?
Yeah.
You know, having a logo that you love but your customers don't isn't going to increase your business, is it? But having a logo that your clients can connect with will ultimately bring them in a bit more, right?
Yeah.
You know, also having stuff done professionally by a designer means that you're getting the right kind of files to use in the right kind of place. You're going to have a brand identity that's unique to you in your business. It's not going to be templated, and you know, you're not going to see it 6 months down the line being used by another business in a completely different market, or potentially even in the same market. It helps that instant recognition. You know, when you walk past something in the high street and it's a sports shop and you see a pair of trainers and you see that tick, you know who that belongs to, don't you?
It's true.
They have spent years and years and years building that consistency up. Look at the fan base they've built.
Yeah, it is that instant sort of recognizing.
Yeah.
And I do know that well, not last year, but the year before, when we were allowed out, I was at an event and a lady was asking me, we talk about it, we're swapping Instagrams, and she's like, what's your Instagram? And I said, and she scrolled through and she went, oh my gosh, yes, that really looks like you. And because it's the purple and green, which I think, you know, a lot of people associate with me, but I know I can do better, which is why you're working on stuff for me.
Yes.
But it is, you know, my logo is words, but if your logo is a symbol and you took your company name away from it, I think the acid test is if people can recognize you without the words.
Absolutely, 100%. I've spent years building up consistency when I'm posting on social media, and people quite often say to me, I knew this was your post without even seeing your logo on it, because of the fonts and the colors and because of the way it all works together.
Yeah. And actually, I saw something the other day that was really similar to yours. I was scrolling on LinkedIn and I saw somebody's post. Oh, somebody's just motorbike. And I had to go back up again because I was like, is that something that Bhavini posted? And it wasn't. It was someone else. But it was in that style, not the exact same colours. It was I think it was the colour that threw me off. That I thought, no, it's not. But it was that exact simplicity that you have, and I think simplicity is we kind of overlook that a lot, and we think we have to throw everything at our designs.
Absolutely, but the problem is the more you throw at your logo and at your leaflet and your social media posts, the harder it's going to be to take in, the harder it's going to be to remember. You don't need 8 different colours in your logo alone. You don't need swirls and flourishes and anything like that that's unnecessary, because it just means that it's going to be too noisy.
Yeah,
it's not going to be something that people want to look at.
No, I remember when I used to work at Constant Contact, we had one of the trainers fly over from America to do some training for us, and we were talking about email design, and she was training a room of people, and she said, you don't want your emails to look like a unicorn spat up all over it. It's like every colour in the rainbow.
No, you really don't. You really don't. She's going to end up turning people off.
Yeah, for sure. So just remind everybody, if you have any questions, I know we're chit-chatting here, and Bhavini and I could chit-chat all day, quite frankly, but if you do have any questions, pop them into the comments box as we're going. So in terms of achieving consistency, what can we be doing to make sure that our branding is consistent?
So the things that I do are the things that I advise people who work with me to do as well. So use your logo in everything you post, whether it's the full logo, or you might have a submark or a watermark that you use it in everything. Okay. Pick a set of colors, 6, maybe 7, that you use throughout your designs, whether that's digital or print, so that you're not just using the same 2 colors everywhere over and over again and things start getting stale. You can throw in accent colors and change things up while you're still staying on brand, which is what I do. And use the same fonts as well. Don't pick a nice handwritten font one day because that's the kind of mood you're in, and then pick something that's really formal the next day, and then switch back to using something completely different the following day, because you're just going to start causing confusion.
Yeah, you're making me cringe because this is what I've been doing. I've been like, my colours are okay. People recognise my colours. We're picking the designs, and I have to admit that when I do pick the designs in Canva, I really don't do anything to them. I use them as is, unless there's too much on there and I think, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I really only change the colour, the text. So I'm not messing with how someone's laid out the design.
Yeah.
But listening to you, I've started putting my logo on everything.
Good. That's a good start.
So that's there, and then I'm looking forward to seeing. And I had picked out other colours, like secondary colours, for me to use, but I don't know that I've actually done a great job, which is why I'm getting you to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing my secondary colour. But one of my clients, that's an IT company that you've seen their new website, which is such a departure from their old website, and that's because we've really worked on pulling in some of their secondary colours, because all IT companies seem to want to use blue in their designs, and it's just so dull, and you end up looking the same.
Yep, absolutely. And why do you want to look the same? Nobody's going to remember you.
No.
I read a book for a book club recently called The Choice Factory by Richard Shotton, and it talks about behavioural biases when it comes to buying things. And they talk about different experiments that were done, and he's replicated them. And there was one where participants were shown groups of 3 letters. So there were various different groupings, and they were all 3 letters. And one of the groups was numbers. Guess which one was remembered most? The numbers, because they were different. I've probably not done a very good job of explaining that, and the book does a much better job. But reading it, I was reading it, highlighting pages in there, going, yes, this is absolutely 100%.
What's that book again? I'm going to write that down.
The Choice Factory by Richard Shotton. It's a really good book.
Okay, I will put that in the comments later, folks, if you want to, or if you don't remember, if you want to go and look up that book. Richard has got a question. So what types of files are best to use for your logo?
The best answer I can give is it depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it online, you want to use a JPEG or a PNG with a transparent background. And if you're using it in print, high-res JPEGs are usually okay, but I prefer to work with vector files, so an AI or an EPS, because I know that regardless of how big or small I make that logo, it's not going to lose any quality.
Yeah, and I mean, as we've just said, you know, the logo is one of the things that you want to start using to be consistent. So you better make sure that it's not being distorted in any way. And I know a little while ago, someone actually, I did an event for someone, and they took a quote from that event and created a social image and put it all in their branding, which I didn't mind. But they put my logo, they changed the color of my logo into their branding color.
Did they ask?
And they didn't ask, and I had to ask them to take it down, because that's my brand, and the purple and black on my logo is how people recognize me. It's unique to me. So they were really nice, and they apologized, and they recreated it and the images, and put them out again. But it's that's another thing that you're going to do for me is come up with a little guide book of how people can use my brand. So if other companies are wanting to use my logo or whatever to promote something that I'm doing for them, I've got a little brand guide that I can say, right, here's what you can do and here's what you can't do. Mm-hmm. So so it's important to have the right type of files for what you're doing. Susan's got a question here. Says, my colours are teal, darker blue and coral. I think it works.
I mean, as a colour combination, they sound fine. But I'm going to reserve any comments on that, because I don't know what your business is, Susan, and I don't know who your client base is. So I don't want to say they're great or they're not, and without knowing sort of a bit more information. Sorry. But
they're kind of, I think, in terms of colours that complement one each other, they're quite complementary colours.
They're great.
Yeah. I think it just depends on, like you said, who your clients are. And I know that with me, when I picked my colours, one of the characteristics of purple is about loyalty. So I wanted to get across that, people could trust me and I would be loyal to them as a service provider. So that's why the purple. And I wanted to get away from, I wanted to stand out, wanted to get away from, I looked at other people who do what I do and they were using really similar colours, and I wanted to be different and for it to show that. And then the green came about because it's opposite purple on the colour wheel.
Love that.
It needs to stand out. So standing out was one of my
contrast to each other quite nicely.
Yasmin's just said their colours are dark grey, white, and lime green. The unisex hairdressers. Is that suitable? I mean, I like your colours. Yasmin's my hairdresser, by the way. I'm seeing her on Thursday.
They sound quite nice. I like the fact that they're not. Your typical blues or pinks that you would see for a hair salon. So I like the sound of that combination.
I've got to say that Yasmin and her team are so creative with their window. So like even when you walk past their shop window, there's always a nice display depending on the time of year. So that fits in nicely with branding indoors. So it's I think for where you are on the high street, I feel like the actual physical shop really stands out. So we've talked about why it's important and how to achieve consistency, but and we've talked, people are asking a lot about their colors, but what does consistent branding, how does it make you stand out? What's the things that really make people go, oh, that's so and so?
The use of the same over and over and over again. Yeah. It's not, I don't think it's an instant thing. Building recognition and having something that's memorable just means that you're doing it day in, day out and making it stronger and stronger. Yeah.
I think this is, branding's it's part of marketing, isn't it?
Yes.
And, you do have to tell people things, you have to tell them a message several times before it kind of sticks. So having that consistency is going to help you to sort of stick in people's brains. Absolutely. And that goes across everything, right? So, your website needs to look like your newsletter, needs to look like your social media, needs to look like brochures, needs to look like, so it's got to be consistent across everything, really. Yeah, cool. And so what other tips, any other tips that we can work on that helps us with that branding?
There are so many. My
I know you're working on a book at the minute.
I'm working full of little design tips. It's going to be a limited edition run of only 50 copies.
I'm going to make sure I get mine.
It's a coffee table style book that you can literally dip in and out of and read in any order. So there's going to be loads of tips in there. But my biggest tip would be keep it simple.
Yeah.
Touching back to sort of what we discussed earlier, there's no need for fancy things on the end of your logo or, having 20 different colours in your brand palette or 10 different fonts. Just keep it as simple as you can in order to make life easier for you, because how are you then going to remember everything?
That's true. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. So keep it simple is my biggest tip. And look at design as something that you're investing in. It's not an expense. Find the right person to work with and you'll have great foundations for your business.
And that the right person to work with, I feel like I found that in you, but what I know why I choose to work with somebody who's a professional, and I saw your post on LinkedIn this morning. But realistically, everyone who's listening today doesn't have the budget to work with a graphic designer all the time. But what are the key moments that you should consider bringing in someone like you?
Your brand identity. If we just take those three things, the logo, the color, the fonts, that's going to form the basis of what your social media marketing looks like, what your website looks like, what your brochure looks like, what any kind of advertising or marketing you do is going to include all those things, right?
Yeah.
If foundations are a bit wonky, what you're building isn't going to be very stable.
No.
What you don't want to do is chop and change every 6 months. I don't like my logo anymore. I think I'm going to change it. Don't like these colors. I'm going to change it. If you've got something that has been professionally designed, researched right from the start, something that you can build on, it's the best way to start. I think it's the best place to make the investment.
Cool. We've got a couple more questions coming in. I forgot to ask you this one, but Graham has been told to be personal as a micro business, but to be professional. So he's got 3 brands with a slight variation on the logo. How can he make sure that he's being consistent across these 3 brands?
Personally, I would ensure that the fonts used for each brand are the same. I would have separate primary color palettes for each brand. And I would have color palettes, like secondary color palettes for each brand where they are different, but you've got a couple of repeating colors in each palette. Does that make sense? You can tie them together. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so people can start with that secondary palette. If they see a colour in one brand and they see it in another, they can start tying the two together.
Yeah, don't do it with the primary. So obviously, you might want to distinguish each business separately. But with the secondary colours, I would.
Yeah. And Richard said, do you ever look at logos? You need my help
all the time. I'll tell you a funny story. When my youngest daughter was 3, I used to go and drop her to a Montessori run in a village just on the outskirts of Milton Keynes. And I was driving along reading some of the stuff that was on the back of this bus, and honestly, the alignment was all over the place, and it just didn't work. I was looking at it. It was one of those like the buses that you can hire that take kids to like schools that are a little bit further away.
Oh yeah.
They're not necessarily sort of a bus service that runs in and out of town. And I just kept looking at it thinking, God, this is awful. There are there's a lot of housing developments up near where we live at the moment, and some of the hoarding and the branding around these developments, you just look at and you just think, why? I could have done a much better job.
I think that when I look at some people's newsletters, I just think, why? I know. You need my help.
Yeah.
But it's I guess you must spot that everywhere, really. And it's hard, like whatever form of marketing you're in, it's difficult not to sort of critique other things.
Yeah, 100%. I do it so often. My husband laughs at me.
Mine too. He's like, can you stop?
Yeah.
Our bugbear at the moment is both of us think this is the Lloyd's Bank advert, because neither one of us likes, when you've got up tempo songs that are then slowed down for so neither one of us likes that format, but we just think, oh please, Lloyd's Bank, you need to cheer up. Put some happy music on. But conversely, the AA advert that's on TV, which they've actually made translate really well to radio because they use the same piece of music.
See consistency.
So they use the same piece of music across both platforms. But watch out for the AA ad, because it's, when you think of the AA, what colour do you think of?
Yellow.
So watch it on TV. There's a lot of yellow. And the music's quite jaunty, it's different. And it first came out I think into the beginning of lockdown 2 or like last year. And it was so different from everything else that was kind of like, oh, we're here for you, we're here to support you. It just really stood out. And then we were listening to the radio one day and I heard this music. I was like, oh, that sounds like the AA.
Yeah.
And it was.
Brilliant. It works.
Proper brand recognition there, really, definitely.
Yeah.
So cool. Oh my God, we're nearly ending our time. I think we could chat forever. You won't believe this as you're watching, but Bhavini and I have never actually met in person. So we have never met in person. One day we're going to.
Absolutely, yes, we will.
And we are probably going to have to clear a half day or something.
Let's just make like the full day. Let's just make it the full day. I think it's going to be needed.
Yeah, definitely. Richard recognises that AA ad. It's brilliant. It's just such a feel-good ad. Thank you so much for your time today. I am going to, I will put in the details of the book that Bhavini mentioned in the comments, and I'll also put a link to her website because I think you all really need to have a look at that. If you are looking to work with a graphic designer, I can recommend Bhavini. She's done quite a bit of work for me. And I've always been really happy. So, if you've got that one thing that you think, right, I need to splurge on this, she's your lady.
Definitely.
So don't forget, in 2 weeks' time, on the 27th, we have Jane Phillips, and we're going to be talking about how imposter syndrome impacts your marketing, which I think it does with a lot of people, even me. So there.
Me too.
I know it gets in there, and that little voice that gets in your head somehow sounds louder than everyone else telling you that you can actually do stuff. So join me in 2 weeks' time at 2:00 with Jane Phillips. Just leave me to say thank you so much for today, Bhavini, and thank you everyone for your questions. The recordings will be on my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and you can watch back to go back over the tips. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.